I'd like to call the July 7th Planning Development Committee order, please. Have a roll.
Counselor Walker?
Here.
Counselor Allen? Here. Counselor Plunkett?
Here. Could I get a motion to approve the minutes for June 16th, 25? Counselor Allen, Counselor Plunkett.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Seeing no old business, go right to new business. Under authorization, the Zoning and Planning Office requested a public hearing to be scheduled for a property known as 85 East 4th Street. The proposed zone change from a TN2, Traditional Neighborhood 2, to a TB, Traditional Business, pursuant to Section 289-96 of the zoning ordinance. And I see Mr.
Okay, so we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, the 2.5, 3-month process of a zone change. We have to schedule and have a public hearing. This is for the credit union on the corner of East 4th and Bridge Street. Purchased a property that's in a TN neighborhood as opposed to the traditional business that they're in. Looking to change the zone so they can demo the house and expand their parking for the credit union. So this is just part of the process.
I'm sorry, you said demo the house and expand what?
The parking lot.
Oh, the parking.
Yep,
Thank you.
parking lot going south.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions? Could I get a motion, please? Counselor Plunkett, Counselor Allen.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Going on number 2, Mayor Robert Cordino requests authorization for a public hearing to be scheduled on July 28th, 2025 at 7:05 p.m. for the public's input regarding the New York State Office of Community Renewal, Community Development Block Grant for infrastructural improvements in the city of Oswego. Anybody here to talk about this? But we've done this before, I remember. It's just for block grants we've done in the past, and I think it's always been good. You know, it helped us out in the city.
Okay.
Dialed it up a lot. Any questions or anything? Okay, could I get a motion, please? Counselor Plunkett, Counselor Allen.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Seeing no more new business, could I get a motion to adjourn, please? Counselor Allen, Counselor Plunkett.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
This time, I'd like to call a Physical Service Committee to order at this time. Can I have the roll call, please?
Counselor Burge?
Here.
Counselor Vanucci? Here. Counselor Walker?
Here.
Counselor Gozik?
Here. I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of the June 16, 2025 committee meeting, please. Counselor Gozik, Counselor Vanucci.
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci? Yes. Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gozik?
Yes. You see no old business, we're going to move on to new business. 1, the Office of Economic Development has received a request from John Salazzo from John and John Skate Shop for use of public space to host the Oswego Skate Contest at the Oswego Skate Park on September 27th, 2025 from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Is there anybody here who'd like to speak on the matter?
I'd like to say a few words.
Go ahead, Counselor.
They've had this in the past, and they've done a great job, and I mean, we had a lot of people, they brought even pro skaters down there, so I think it's good for the community and the kids, so if there's no other comments.
I'd like to comment on it myself also. I think this is great, anything for the children in the city of Oswego to keep them off the streets, keep them from getting themselves into trouble. I think this is a great addition to the city that actually directed right towards the children of our community. So at that time, can I have a motion for that, please? Counselor Walker, Counselor Vanucci?
Counselor Burge?
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci? Yes. Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gozik?
Yes. Number 2, the Office of Economic Development has received a request from Susan McBurdy for use of public space to host a West 5th Street block party on July 19, 2025 from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. Is there anybody here who'd like to speak on that matter? I don't see anybody. Sue McBurdy put this event on last year. To be honest, I don't know if she ever got it pulled off. She had a couple different dates. But if she did, we didn't have any problems, no issues down there, and something for the community again. So I'm all for it. If I could have a motion. Counselor Gozick, Counselor Walker.
Counselor Burge,
Yes.
Counselor Vernucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walker,
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Number 3, the Office of Economic Development has received a request from Lena Chapman for use of public space to host Art in the Park at various parks on July 15th, July 22nd, August 5th, August 12th, August 19th, and August 26th, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Does anybody here like to speak on that? Yep.
My name's Leanna Chapman, for anybody who I haven't met before. I'm a business owner here in Oswego. My business name is Leanna's Art Room. My DBA is Leanna's Art Room. I do go by Leanna's Mobile Art on social media. In 2022, I did do a series for Art in the Park. I did it as an 8-week-long program, open to all youth and their siblings and parents in the city of Oswego. And we utilized Brightback Park, Oak Hill, Franklin, and one other park, Washington Square Park, I think. And it was very successful. Basically how it works is I show up about 30 minutes before we do a painting class in the park. So I do instructional painting for the kids. They follow step by step. Typically lasts for about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how long it takes them. And I always bring extra supplies so that if there are other kids like in the parks hanging out and they see us and they want to join, I typically let them join free of charge just to experience something fun and different. And it has been pretty popular in the past. A lot of people have asked if I will be doing this again. So I'm hoping to do that this summer.
Sounds like a great program for the children again. Thank you. Anybody else have anything on it? At this time, can I have a motion? Counselor Walker, Counselor Vernucci.
Counselor Burge,
Yes.
Counselor Vernucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walker,
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Number 4, the Office of Economic Development has received a request from Jerry Miller for use of public space to host Porch Fest 2025 on Sunday, September 21st, 2025, from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Does anybody here like to speak on that? Any of the counselors? I attend this, oh, go ahead.
I'll just say I've attended this multiple years. It's in, First Ward borders, Third Ward. Every year has been a wonderful event for the city. A ton of people come out for it. I mean, it's packed. You see a lot of families, a lot of great groups. The organizers do a wonderful job in their part, as well as the musicians that put in their time and effort, to provide this service for the entire community. So I support this wholeheartedly.
I like to support it also. I attend it every year. It's always been a great time. Very clean, very put together, very nice. You see some new music coming in from out of the area, as well as the old local people that we've always spent time listening to at different locations around the city. So I'd like to encourage everybody in the city to make an attempt to go over and enjoy it. It's a great time. You won't have any problems. Tons of people. You'll see a lot of new friends and that you haven't seen in a while, and some old ones. So I'd like to support as much as I could too. Can I have a motion on that, please? Counselor Gozick, Counselor Vernucci.
Counselor Burge,
Yes.
Counselor Vernucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walker,
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Number 6, the Zoning and Planning Office has received a request from Robert Gilds, owner of a single-family dwelling located at 181 East 10th Street, for use of a public space in order to install a 4-foot high fence. What'd you say? Oh, good, grab that, the next one.
Yep.
Okay, so, threw my notes off. So this one actually is a fence that's existed for years. It's right on the corner of 10th and 104 on what would be the southeast corner. The state put a fence along the sidewalk there probably 40 some odd years ago. At some point, the homeowner put a fence from the end of that over to the corner of the house. It's actually in public space. Never really been caught before, but the homeowner upgraded the fence, put a new fence in. we caught it at that point, so we're really just cleaning it up. The fence is in the exact same spot as it's been for 30, 40 years. Just trying to clean it up, so if they ever try to sell the property, we've got the proper use of public space.
Anybody have any questions? This time I'd like to take a motion. Counselor Walker, Counselor Gozick.
Counselor Burge,
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walker,
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Excuse me, yes.
I'll go back to number 5. The zoning and planning office has received a request from Bren W. Dias, representative for Central, for use of public space fronting East 3rd Street in order to install a new bus shelter.
So Centro's looking, just as you said, to put a bus shelter. It's actually right out from the parking lot of the Goodwill store there on 3rd Street between East Bridge and Cayuga Street on what would be the west side of the road in that green space there. Kind of a good location. It gets people near the walking trail, gets people near Goodwill and the east side of downtown.
Any questions? This time I'd like to accept the motion. Counselor Gozick, Counselor Walker.
Counselor Burge,
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walker,
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
The zoning and planning office has received a request from Andrew Schmidt, owner of a single-family dwelling located at 65 East Oneida Street for use of public space in order to construct a temporary ramp.
So this one, just for the record, I believe his name is Anthony Schmidt. I think it's just a typo on there.
Okay.
And what this is, gentleman's father lives with him. He's wheelchair bound. He's had some health issues. He built a ramp for him that actually hinges and flips up out of the way, but when he flips it down, it's pretty much from the front of the porch to the sidewalk is public space, and that's where it sits. So we're just cleaning that up.
Questions? I'll take a motion. Counselor Vanucci, Counselor Gozick.
Counselor Burge,
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walker,
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
The zoning and planning office has received a request from Mr. David Warrendorf Jr., owner of a commercial property located at 23 West Bridge, for use of public space in order for outdoor seating area.
So this is similar to what they've done in the past. We started back in COVID. We were doing kind of an emergency outdoor seating to help keep businesses going. Since then, we've kind of done away with that resolution. So he's looking to get, it's an area about 6 by 15, I believe, on what would be the west side of the entrance into the alley cat. Leaves plenty of sidewalk to get through there, so they can put a couple of tables out there.
We've never done this before, have we, at this location? I don't recall it ever having it. Yeah, I haven't seen it ever.
I thought
Anybody
they had
else?
previously done it during COVID. I know a lot of them had, but maybe not.
I don't
at
recall
Alley
them
Cat.
doing it. Yeah, I don't recall them doing it.
My question real quick. Is it gonna be fenced in, that area?
They do
or-
have portable fencing, yes, kind of similar to what, it's like metal gates that lock together, kind of look like what the DPW uses at times.
Okay.
Is it gonna be permanent during the daytime too, or just nighttime?
They'll just put it out, Harbor Fest, it would be during the day, but otherwise it's just at night, and it comes down every night.
Understood. Can I have a motion on that matter? Counselor Gozick, Counselor Vanucci.
Counselor Burge,
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walker,
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Number 9, the zoning and planning office has received a request for public space from Tammy Thompson, property owner of a single-family dwelling located at 152 West 8th Street, in order to install a blessing box. Anybody here like to speak on that?
I can speak to that as well. So you've probably seen these around town, like the little library boxes they put out front. Sometimes they're library, sometimes they put like personal hygiene items in there. People can't afford them, and they kind of usually have a little door on them. This is what she's looking to do, but where they're putting it is in public space.
Any questions? See none, can I have a motion? Counselor Gozick, Counselor Vanucci.
Counselor Burge,
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walker,
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Number 10, the city clerk's office has received requests for discussion regarding signage for use of public space for Michael Dow of the Salvation Army to place signs promoting Salvation Army Barbecue on July 8th, 2025. Anybody here like to speak on that? I have some comments, I guess. The city has been getting bombarded with these sign requests. I've kind of limited my choices for nonprofit organizations and people that have it outside their buildings or their stores. I think in the future, we're definitely going to have to look into some better ways to handle this, when the signs go up and when the signs come down. Seems like you drive across town and the signs are all over the place, blowing around the street, or you'll see 10 on a corner, all for different things. It's getting out of hand. But with that, can I have a motion on this?
I'd like to.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I'd just like to know where the signage is going.
I was about to ask the same question.
You know, you're gonna throw it all over the city or just a few in that area? I'd like to know that.
Yeah, yeah, there's no
I didn't see
specific.
none of that.
Yeah, I didn't know if it meant the public space kind of in front of his area or elsewhere throughout the city.
Yeah, I mean,
Isn't this a little late?
That's what I was just saying, it's July 8th, it's tomorrow.
Right, that's what I was just gonna say, is I got
I don't know how it ended up here for this one, but it's actually for tomorrow. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference if we
Yeah.
vote for it or not.
Table.
I'd table it. Okay, I have a motion to table? Counselor Walker, Counselor Gozick.
Counselor Burge,
Yes to table.
Counselor Venucci,
yes, the table.
Counselor Walker,
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
This time I'd like to take a motion to close. Counselor Gozick, Counselor Venucci.
Counselor Burge,
Yes?
Counselor Venucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walker,
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to call to order the Administrative Services Committee. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Plunkett,
Here.
Counselor Burge,
Here.
Counselor Allen,
Here.
Counselor Venucci,
Here.
Counselor Walton.
Here.
Could I get a motion to approve the minutes of the June 16th, 2025 committee meeting, please? Counselor Walton, Counselor Allen.
Counselor Plunkett,
Yes.
Counselor Burge,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
Yes.
Counselor Venucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Is there any old business? Let's move on to new business then. Item 1 under authorization, City Attorney Kevin Caracoli requests authorization for the mayor to enter into a second extended, restated, and amended memorandum of understanding between the City of Oswego and the Town of Scriba for the operation and maintenance of the town's water department. Mr. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As many of you know, the city and the town have been operating under a series of memoranda of understanding regarding certain operation and maintenance of the town's water department. And a couple of, there's been a group of representatives from both the city and the town that have been continuing those discussions and have advanced it into a longer-term agreement than what's been previously agreed upon. The current version of this memorandum of understanding would extend the current agreement for 3.5 years to give the city and the town really a full opportunity to understand whether it makes sense for the city to take over a complete operation and maintenance of the town's water department. And that's really what we're talking about. This is an agreement that would not cost the city of Oswego any additional money. The money spent are offset by the payments made by the town of Scriba, and those equate to $60,000 per month, and that represents 4 full-time city employees. These are not town employees, these are city employees that will be assigned to the town's water department and work through the town and servicing the town's customers, which do include the town of New Haven and parts of Volney. This would also include the purchase of 4 trucks 2 of them with plows, again, all paid for by the town of Scriba. In addition to that, there's administrative costs that are underwritten by the town. So this truly is not an expense that's incurred by the city. It's an obligation that the city is agreeing to take on if you approve of this, but the payment is to be made by the town of Scriba. Why are we doing this? Because the town of Scriba has experienced a diminishing of the workforce over the number of years. They are a New York State certified licensed public water supplier. They're under license and obligations to maintain those. And the city of Oswego has that, has all the credentials and the employees to do that. In addition to that, is committed, would be committing to hiring 4 employees that don't otherwise exist or wouldn't have to be, utilized if this agreement wasn't in place. It's for 3.5 years because that's the cost of the trucks and the other equipment that's being purchased was termed out over that period of time, and that's what the $60,000 per month over 3.5 years makes the city whole on the purchase of the vehicles and the other equipment. The town will continue to maintain the billing for the customers. The town will schedule the work that's to be performed within the town and the other customer areas, and field any questions or complaints related to that. They'll also be required to schedule the dig safe anytime there's a dig that is required. The town of Scriba's clerk's office would be responsible for the scheduling of that, calling it in. The city would be responsible for the dig. What's not included in this cost is water main breaks. Those would be separately billed by the city to the town on a time and material basis. So this has been an ongoing several-month effort. I can tell you that the town board in the town of Scriba has adopted this agreement. It's conditioned upon approval by the Common Council, but the town has committed to this. They're ready to partner with the city and open it up for any questions you might have.
Councilor Allen?
Yeah, so Kevin, thank you for all that information. Would it be safe for me to assume then that since city employees would be performing this work, even though the municipality of Scriba would get the dig safe call in, that if there was any damage to any facility or utilities, the city of Oswego would be on the hook for that, right?
Well, so there would be a joint responsibility there, frankly. Okay. I think, and I am a lawyer, but to put on that kind of,
sure,
tort lawyer hat, the question then becomes, did the Scriba folks call in the request properly? Whoever marked it out, did they do that properly? And then whoever
right.
dug it, did they do that properly, right? So there's potential liability all around, but fundamentally this agreement has cross indemnification language in it. So
okay.
That's
right.
Really, I guess that's the answer I'd give you.
No, it's fair enough. That's the answer I was
But
looking
there's
for.
cross indemnification language built into the agreement.
Thank you.
Councilor Walker?
Thank you. When we hire these 4 employees, are they going to be dedicated for Scriba and use their facility out there, their building, or are they going to be located in the city of Oswego Water Department? And can we utilize them too? I'm just.
So the agreement is struck such that they would be permanently assigned to the town of Scriba to be to work in Scriba and at Scriba-related customers. Again, they service New Haven and Volney.
Right.
If there were an emergency in the city of Oswego, I'm sure it would be all hands on deck. Similarly, if there was an emergency in Scriba or New Haven that required some additional staffing, you know, John Lacy and his group would come to that call as well, so.
Are they gonna be located out to Scriba? They got that facility they have?
Yeah, and, you know, again, the trucks are generally designed to stay in Scriba. It's gonna be subject to the city's take-home vehicle policy. So there are going to be instances, I think one of the primary supervisors his truck will be a take-home truck because he kind of lives in the middle of it all, and if there's an emergency at 1 o'clock in night, you know, you don't want him traveling 10 miles this way to go 15 miles the other way, right? But by and large, those vehicles will stay in Scriba, service the Scriba customers. It'll actually be, it's written into the agreement, we haven't decided on a name yet, but we're going to come up with some type of a name that gives it a regional name, so that you're not seeing City of Oswego trucks in Scriba or New Haven or Volney, right? And then you guys get the calls like, hey, what the heck, you know, what's going on? So we're gonna come up with some type of a regional name that gives the public some idea that there's a mutual municipal cooperation arrangement between Scriba and Oswego.
Thank you.
Counselor Burge?
Kevin, I know you mentioned New Haven and Bounty, but if we sat down and had an agreement with them, I knew we were going to do that separately. Has that
Right.
happened, or no?
To my knowledge, I haven't been part of any of those meetings. I believe, and I don't want to speak for him, I think the mayor has fielded some phone calls.
Okay.
But to my knowledge, there hasn't been an actual sit-down meeting with them. But that is also contemplated in this agreement, that both the city and the town have agreed to continue to meet with the additional municipal partners to work out, you know, the finer points. And again, this is a 3.5-year agreement. At the end of it, there's no obligation to continue, but I think the hope on both sides is that we'll learn enough in the next couple of years to determine whether this relationship, you know, could go to the next level, or we just go our own separate ways. And it's going to take that amount of time to figure that out.
Now, that would be another contract in itself between both of those entities, correct?
It would be a completely new arrangement. In fact, it's a different section of the general municipal law that deals with this type of regional municipal cooperation, specifically for a water supply service. So yeah, and it deals with debt service and all the rest of it, because, you know, Scriba has a bunch of water districts that are in various stages of debt service. So all of that has to be figured out, and it's going to take a couple of years to do that, to determine if this really makes sense for everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion, please? Counselor Burridge, Counselor Allen.
Counselor Plunkett,
Yes.
Counselor Burridge,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
Yes.
Counselor Vernucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Thank you, Kevin. Item number 2, City of Oswego has applied for and been awarded a grant in the amount of $23,046 from the New York State Department of Health for the purchase of a new fluoride tank to support the municipal water treatment system.
Good evening. I'm Sean Perkins. I'm the Assistant Plant Manager at the Water Treatment Plant. Like you said, we applied for this grant and we've been awarded it. So this is just to get permission to accept it and then to advance the funding for the project and then get reimbursed after it's begun and finished.
Anybody have any questions? Counselor Walker.
Is that the whole cost of getting it installed and?
That was the quote, I'm sorry, that was the quote for last year, so it's gone up about $900. But besides that, that cost does cover both, there's actually 2 pumps and 2 tanks that we're getting. So
deal.
it's not a bad deal.
Any other questions for Sean? Get a motion, please? Counselor Walton, Counselor Vernucci.
Counselor Plunkett,
Yes.
Counselor Burridge,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
Yes.
Counselor Vernucci,
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Thanks, Sean. Item 3 under authorization, Mayor Robert A. Cordino requests authorization to execute any and all agreements regarding the revised website project for the city of Oswego. Steve?
Councilors, good evening. So we're looking to revamp the city website. Our current website's about 9 years old, and we're trying to go in a different direction, maybe modernize a bit and use a provider that's a little bit more specialized in municipal sites. But I understand that you all have some questions, so hopefully I have some answers for you.
What, do you have any questions? Councilor Allen?
Yeah, I've got a lot of questions.
Go ahead. That's why we're here.
Yeah, so I guess let's just do a quick review. Before we get started, I'll say thanks for taking my call earlier today and answering the lion's share of the questions. Just as a review, current state is we have a company that's been with us for 9 years. They were here in the beginning. They developed our logo. They developed the website. All of our needs have been, essentially met. I'm not aware that we have any concerns with the current state of the website. I do know that it's an all-inclusive contract, so we pay them a set fee. Everything that has to happen happens, all right? And it's taken care of. There's no bandwidth limits. There's no informational, there's no caveats to which information can and cannot be updated. As I read through the contract here, and I discussed this with you earlier, under the proposal, that will no longer be true. It'll be a 35% increase in the cost, but a lot of the things that the current company, who I should say is local, employing local people, which is, we all want to keep our business local, right? A lot of those things aren't there. There's caveats in this contract. I struggled with some of the language, which is why I sought clarity earlier today on that. And I still believe, I guess I'll cut to the end and then I'll come back to some of my other questions. I still believe that we have more questions that need to be answered. And at the end of all this, I'm going to ask the council to consider tabling this at a minimum so we can get answers to those questions. Now, getting into some of the specifics, I have really quite a long list. I don't intend on going over all of those, but part of the conversation today, we talked about how currently, with the current company, everything that we need is processed through one of two people that goes to that company, and they just do whatever it is we need. Under the proposed plan, one of the elements, which is good and bad in my mind, is the city and the city employees will have the ability to affect a lot of those changes themselves without having to wait. And I don't think there's any real delay in getting any updates to the website, but city employees will wholly intend on performing a lot of the updates themselves. Contractually, with this new proposal, we will not be getting those without a cost. So those will be an additional fee on everything that's being asked for here. And so there's a couple of concerns or a couple of things that I think we need to continue to flesh out relative to this.
Which part would be an added cost for updates and stuff like that?
Well, so for right now, and once again, I struggle with some of the language that they have here in the contract, but they have.
I was able to reach out to the account manager after our phone call to get some clarity on a few of the questions that you asked specifically, so hopefully we can try to clear some of that up.
Okay, well, I'll finish the thought on this and then we can circle back to that. So the couple of concerns are whether there is or is not a financial penalty. It seems to me as I read this, there's definitely a financial cost with some of this information, but let's assume that that's not true. We still now have, we will have going forward a policy by which city employees will be performing these updates to keep the website current. And stuff changes. Employees change, staff changes, policies change, people's levels of ability depending on workload. There may be some conflicts where we're not able to do these updates, and then it's not a long stretch before the site now is not really, the relevancy is diminishing, right? And it's a degrading product if we're not maintaining it. Under the current process, and I apologize if I'm going a little long on this, under the current process, we have contractually a company who is responsible to do all of these things and to make sure that the minutes from this council meeting, for example, are updated. If we're taking this on in-house and ourselves, there's really no guarantee that that's going to happen. So I guess I just have a concern relative to the potential for the quality of the site to be affected. Another area that I have an issue of concern is, right now I believe the website is very secure. We have the people that we host it with under the current contract, they host it free of charge as well, but they have a very good DNS, domain name server security system. That's the one where you have to click I'm a human and it checks you and all that. That's proprietary to them. So when we go with the new company, we'll lose that, I believe, unless we pay for it. Do you want to correct me on that?
That's incorrect. So Step One that manages our website is a separate entity from Brockett Creative Group that we use.
Talk just a little bit louder.
So Step One is separate from Brockett Creative Group, who is
That's
who
correct.
we use for our domain name service. We can still maintain that functionality, and that's not free of charge. That costs $350 a month, every month, for that Cloudflare DNS that you're talking about.
Okay.
So regardless of the website, we would still be able to maintain that functionality and still incur that cost.
Okay.
With the ability to potentially,
I'm sorry?
with the potential to potentially negate that cost with the built-in security of this site.
Okay. Well, these are concerns, and these are things that aren't really fully articulated in tonight's proposal, and it's one of the reasons why I actually said that at the end of all this, I'm going to ask that we take our time and do this right. And I'm going to give you the biggest reason why I think we should. This is a 5-year contract, so it's a long-term contract with a new company. And to not get too far into the weeds on this, I don't believe we've done any benchmarking with any other municipalities. My understanding is there's 3,800 municipalities out of roughly 35,000 municipalities in the United States that go with this company. And I don't know that we've benchmarked similar municipalities to us to see, number one, how do they like it, how is it working for them? Are the contractual costs really the costs that they're seeing, or are these upcharges that we're seeing in the contract, are they kicking in, and is it a burden? Because once you sign on the dotted line on this one, we're locked in for it for 5 years. And so I think that we really need to do our due diligence before we lock ourselves in on this. And so, I mean, I can talk about more of my concerns, but I think you guys get the gist of where I'm going with this. I guess I'll pause there, and do you want to rebut some of the stuff that I said?
Well, I mean, I don't really have a question to answer there, but so to some of the stuff that we had spoken about earlier, so if we get into, and I believe you have the proposal document that I have.
Yeah.
If you look at it in Phase 7, which will be the second page, two of the things that you had asked about was the $3 per web page or document fee.
Right.
So if you look further into that, they crawled our website and pulled a bunch of information off of it. They looked at, there was about 160 web pages and 1,655 documents that they would have to migrate onto the new site. Over that is where we would start incurring that $3, and that would be identified during the planning phase of the project. So we would know very quickly if the cost was going to go up. That's not a long-term, every time you want to do a document or a web page, it's $3. That would be identified in planning. However, with that, and I spoke with the account manager who put this together after we spoke, there is a high potential that those numbers are going to go down. Because as we clean up the site and consolidate and get rid of, extraneous pages or documents that we don't need, that projected 160 and 1,600 is more than likely to go down. So odds are we're not going to incur that $3 per page or document cost.
Right,
So-
but it's still a risk contractually, and as you and I discussed earlier, we talked about the bandwidth
Sure.
restrictions. I'm not aware that we currently have these bandwidth restrictions, and there's some significant fees. And listen, I'm not disparaging this. This is probably a fine company. I don't know anything about them other than a little bit of research that I did. I just know that this is a long-term contract with a lot of potential financial implications for us, along with quality implications. And I'm just going to circle back to something I said before. We didn't do any benchmarking that I'm aware of, and there seems to be a time constraint on this. We'd like to get this in, and I understand the reason for that, by the way, so we don't have to rehash that so much. But there is a municipality close to us, and I did go look at that website, and they are currently following the same model that the city is proposing, where they're responsible for updating it, certain elements of it internally, and that's not occurring. So there's dead links, there's missing pages, there's outdated information. So there are a lot of those challenges that I said I was concerned about exist on a website that's in a municipality close to us here. So it's not just fantasy. This is a real risk that we're running, and I think that I think that it's, you know, it's something that we may end up doing in the future, but I believe that we need to really pause, do it right. I do believe that there is time between now and the constraints that you said that we're faced with next March. I believe that there's a little bit of a window here for us to take pause, to vet this properly, and to ensure that the next long-term contract we get into is the one that we know what we're getting. So go ahead.
Well, so to the bandwidth part, so the bandwidth where we would incur $360 per year, which is prorated for the overage, if in the effect that we do over our bandwidth, it'd be prorated. So if it's a month, it'd be $30 for the month that we're over. In the contract, we are allocated 100 gigabytes of that bandwidth for documents up and down. And speaking, again, to the manager after we spoke, Clark County, Nevada doesn't go over their bandwidth. So it would be exceptionally rare that we would go over that bandwidth constraint. Again, given how many documents that we have, that would be.
And that might be 100% true. The thing is we don't know. I think as a council, we need to have that information in front of us so we can say, okay, listen, this is what we're currently using, so we have a reasonable assurance that this is a safe bet for us. I mean, we have a 15 gigabyte storage space limit. Yeah. I don't know what our site uses, but I know that in my home computer that wouldn't be enough for a fraction of what I have, right? And then we have a 100 gigabyte monthly bandwidth limit as well, and you just said that it's likely we won't go over it, but, you know, as a council that's considering this, we would just like to have those answers. So,
well, and two, I think the other thing too to this is it's important that a part of this website is not just the website, it's the cost savings and the consolidation that come with it. So with this website, there's other functionality that comes with it, like our agenda and meeting software. So how you all get your agendas, that costs us about $6,600 a year. So with that, it's inclusive in the cost of this website that we can immediately recoup $6,600 a year by saving on another program.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, and I appreciate you sharing that with me earlier today, and I'm not contesting that may not be a valuable component of this, but once again, I stick with my assessment that based on the information that's in front of us, and we don't have the full contract, but, you know, the city attorney here, I think could help me along, and I'm not asking you to do that, Kevin, by the way, but you know, some of this language, I don't understand. The way that it's written, it's really open to interpretation, and I'd like to see more definition.
So let me ask, so assuming that it gets tabled, what specifically would you like me to come back with in 2 weeks?
So I think I'd like to ask, you know, your department or anybody else that's relevant in this process to do our due diligence, to go out and to conduct benchmarking, find municipalities that are similar to us, find out what it is that they're doing, ask them about their experiences with this company, you know, understand if the things that we envisioned, the promises that we had hoped to achieve in the sense of efficiency, cost savings, or an improved product. I know I don't see that. I'm not aware that there's really anything about our current site that is lacking. I go back to that is it broke question, right? But I don't know that we've really understood all the elements that we need to about this. So to answer your question, I'd go back, I'd do some benchmarking and say, look, you know, how are you folks liking this? What are you seeing? What are the costs? I think I'd go back to the company and I would ask them to have their folks relook at the way that they've written up these terms and conditions, especially the project, the different phases of the project. I'd like to see this more in a formal project plan format, where things are defined a little bit better. And then, you know, they gave us just a generic timeline of 6 to 7 months, with the caveat that it's really the incumbent upon you to be as receptive as they deem necessary. I think I'd like a little more clarity on what it is they're expecting from us, so we don't find ourselves in a 2-year situation where we just still don't have a website because they're saying you didn't give them this or that. I mean, there's a lot of really ambiguous language in here. So I guess that's what I'm saying.
Well, just one more point, just too, because you would ask why it's broken. I think the other thing that we had talked about was the ADA compliance. That is one thing where we are lacking, and that is a mandate that will be coming down, I believe, this year.
Sure.
Where being partially compliant, which is outright stated on our website, will no longer be an option. And then we're partially compliant with an older standard as opposed to what they offer, the most up-to-date standard, the
Right.
WCAG. So just as a point, I mean, some of these things do have an answer, but.
No,
yeah,
understood. I mean, and if we had, I mean, you know, I just want to know that we've explored everything, and we talked to the current company and said, listen, you know, here's some of our goals, here's some of our ambitions, is it something that you can deliver? Because I still go back to, if we've got the local resources and the local talent, that maybe we should be continuing to follow our overarching policy of hiring local and continue to try to use those resources. Now, if they're not available, I understand completely, or if there's elements that are bigger than this that we need to bring on, but I don't know that we've had the conversations with the existing company to say, hey.
Well, and our
can you
existing
guys-
company does, we're great with PR, brand development, and,
Yeah.
you know, there are services, and I wouldn't say that we would
Yeah, they've been
completely
a great
sever our
partner to
relationship
us,
with
yeah.
them. But I think the website itself is that they are specific to making a municipal website as opposed to our current developer is a web developer, but not.
No, and I
tailored specifically,
understand, this
so.
company can take things that they've learned in other municipalities and they can transfer it here and that we can benefit from, that. I get it, and I see the upsides that you and I discussed earlier. Once again, I'm just asking us to do our due diligence.
Sure.
Does anybody else want to?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Counselor Walton?
The first and foremost thing I want to ask you is, what is your take on this? What is driving you to support this?
So our website's 9 years old. I mean, it's time for a facelift as it is. I mean, and if you, again, not everybody dives super deep into the website looks, but if you Google for a permit application or some other form, often you're going to get old versions of it. It's really not user-friendly to find things on the site. You can get to things 4 different ways, and we have a varying population from 18 to, 100 that's going to use our site.
Yeah.
So trying to make a more user-friendly experience is one of the big things, but also, at the time, I mean, the relationship that we have has been great. I have no ill will against our current developer, but the drive was trying to find, and this is not the only company that I had reached out to, but trying to find a web developer who, one, specifically worked on municipal websites, and then also, B, could consolidate services that we're already paying for with other not local third parties, and try to make everything into a simplistic and intuitive program. Like I said, with the rental portal, with the public request form, there's a lot of things that we can tie into one system. So that was the main drive of it. Just trying to modernize from where we were 9 years ago.
Gotcha. My other question is the upfront cost for the website design. Is that already budgeted in? Is that going to be a budget amendment? What are we looking at there?
That would be more of a question for the mayor. I mean, it would be him to execute it. I'm not
Okay.
sure how he wants to move the monies.
Gotcha.
But it could be.
Okay, I know that was a substantial one, so, and my last question, and it's more of kind of a statement, kind of piggybacking on what Councilor Allen stated,
Yep.
is if we table this for the next agenda item, one of the things, in speaking to, what, I'd like to see.
Sure.
Is really what is going to be that cost saving. So I know you mentioned, we have currently our website design fee, our domain fee, as well as the civic clerk agenda fee. So if we lumped all that together,
18,615 right there.
yep, so if we lump that together against what we'd be potentially saving year to year, what is that savings calculation looking like?
5,465, roughly.
What was that?
I think, I'm just doing the math in my head, 5,465
Okay.
roughly. And that's not including the reservation portal, which is a variable cost because they get paid off of a % of every reservation.
You're talking for like the tiki tours?
For
and, like,
tiki,
stuff like that?
patios, all that stuff. I
So
mean,
all of that is included in this site?
Yeah, so we would have a reservation portal that would tie into our Stripe account, which is our payment processor. The agenda and meetings would be done on that. We would get yeah, there's quite a few add-ons that the site would have just natively.
Yeah. So that, I think, you know, that's definitely, you know, a figures thing to look at for sure. And if it's really, you know, that much of savings, you know, we break that out per year, you know, that might be something else that we talk about as well.
Counselor Burge?
I'm pretty much all for it, but keeping it inside the, you know, local. But my biggest question is, can the company that we now, that services us, not right now, can't they do the same product? Can't they do the same thing, but other than dealing with somebody out of state, we're actually dealing with somebody. I'd love to sit down with the one we got right now and say, hey, can we do this, can we do this, can we do this? Why limit ourselves to just one place right now? Why don't we find the best deal we can get? And if we can get somebody that's local, we can pick up the phone that's here.
Sure.
It just seems to be a lot smarter than
I mean,
taking
yeah.
a guess on what we're getting right now. Because to be honest with you, you guys are rattling these numbers out of what we're saving here and here and here. Is that going to be extra charges in the long run? Or is it done? That one price is going to be all that? Right now, I'm kind of confused what we're dealing with.
What the price you're looking at, that $13,150 a year, we'll assume second year and implementation's done, that's inclusive of everything that I've spoken about, is that $13,150. So, yeah, it would be that roughly $5,500 a year saved there.
Counselor Walker?
Have you spoken to the other company that we have now? Talk to them? No.
So, I haven't. The mayor has reached out to him to let him know that we were pursuing this. But again, I think it's important to note that our current company is not specifically tailored to municipalities. They are a PR and a branding company, which is fine, but to ask them from the technical side, to ask them to develop an entire reservation portal, a new technology for them, would be a substantial undertaking. That's not just going to be a tomorrow task that they're going to get done. So there are certain things that, yeah, they do web development, but there's added functionality that this company specifically, it's more than just the website that this company offers. And I talked to another company too, which is Civic Plus, and without even getting a formal quote from them, far surpassed the price that Revise was offering, so.
If I could piggyback on that real quick too, is again, if we do sit down with our current website designer, and again, if we're looking at a timeline here of, you know, a 6 to 7 month process, would that give them time to develop something like that for us?
I don't know. And again, that's based on the idea of whether or not they can do it. I don't know. I don't.
And I do think I would agree that that would be worth, again, part of this tabling the discussion, is to sit down with them and realistically say, you know, this is what we're looking for. Is it something that you're able to do? Because if they come back and they say, no, it's really not in our wheelhouse, we understand where you're going, I totally understand that. But I do agree with Councilor Burge and even Councilor Allen as well, as if we can keep it local, and again, we've had a great working relationship with them for 9 years, and it's something that we're able, obviously, you know, we'll see again where those cost differences would lie with something like this, but I think that's worth a discussion in my eyes.
Sure.
Counselor Allen?
Yeah, and I guess just one more thing, you had asked, you know, what we would ask of you to do, and I would say that if you could come back to us with the financial costs and the data relative to the current plan, which is for them to do the basic just summarizing at a high level, them to do the basic website and a certain number of updates, and then for us to take the remainder of those in-house, and then, which is contrary to what the current process is, where the current company does all of it. So we know what the cost is for that current plan, because most of it's articulated in here. But if it didn't go as planned, if resources weren't available here at the city, and we did need to rely on the company, we have to know. We've got 9 years of experience with this website. We have to have a pretty good feel for the volume that we're dealing with, right? And it should be something, if we don't know offhand, that we can find out pretty quickly. So you can quantify that, and then you can say, well, how much would it cost if we had to pay Revise to do this, if we were to no longer have the in-house resources necessary to accomplish that? Because now then we would have two numbers. We'd have a number that matches the current state, because this number that they're proposing doesn't, and then we would have the number that under this proposal. So I'd like you to see you come back with both of those. That would be mine. So that's my additional comment. Did that make sense, what I was explaining to you?
Yeah, I got what you're going for.
Yeah, because I'm really worried. I mean, I was able to look at one website today where they do it under the current plan, and I have no doubt that you're going to do a stellar job.
Well, that was my argument to that, is it's hard to, again, I fully understand your point, but it's hard to give it a strike against the project on the assumption that our staff aren't going to do their jobs.
No,
I mean, at that point, that's
it's not a strike, it's contingency planning, it's risk management, right? And that's our job, is as we approve this financially, that we have to understand the risk and know that we've got a mitigation plan in place. And if you were to talk to this company, I'm sure they'd be happy, because like I said, you can quantify the volume, so it's not like this is going to be a hard number to get to.
Sure. Yep. And actually, I do. I know that we've asked our current company for about 100 different changes thus far.
I got
this
you.
year. So
yeah, and I'll say too, because I'm not going to. I think that was the end of my. Thank you. I know this has been grueling for you, and you probably didn't expect that coming in, but thank you for entertaining this. This is important to us. So, okay, go ahead.
Councilor Goza?
Yeah, not being on the committee and not voting on this tonight, I'm definitely in favor of tabling it. One, looking at the issue of local business that served us and brought us into the 21st century. You know, if they could do it, I'd be all on board. I mean, what's $5,000 these days? With the hidden costs, we all know these companies are out to make a buck. There's no company in America today. Most of them are shysters. These companies are dime a dozen. They give you a break. That's why the language is like this. I applaud Councilor Ellen. And I know, Steve, you've done a great job, so it's not you. We all know these guys are out to rake us over the coals. We've learned that, been on city government for 10 years. It's astounding. Most ordinary citizens wouldn't know. These corporations aren't friends of local municipalities. They're out to make a buck. None of them. Not from the big box stores that are out here, taking us for reassessments, challenging us every 3 years, and raking the city over the coals, to these companies. I mean, we got Shane Steppian's done a phenomenal job in Step One Creative, so I'm just piggybacking on what you guys are saying, but I agree 100%. We need more details, a lot more, because the hidden fees are obviously designed to cost us probably even more. And if they can't do it, well, okay, then we got to shop around. But I'd like to also see like other companies like this that, we could compare. Why not? We bid out everything else for something this big and move it deeper into the 21st century. It's unfortunate. You know what I would do? I get rid of that portal and have somebody and hire somebody so they got a job. And you can call them up and say, hey, I'd like to make a reservation. Because automation today has gone to the point where it's insane. It's absurd. We were sacrificing human dignity and people having jobs. When I grew up, you call the place and somebody answered the phone. And that was a good job. When you went to the grocery store, somebody waited on you instead of going through a computer. It takes twice as long. With stuff like this, it's the same sort of thing. It's a shame. It's a shame we couldn't have those people. So you actually talk to a real human being instead of all this automation. You can't tell them nobody have a reservation. Half the city don't have jobs. Half the country, like working 3 jobs, you can't get by. Why? Because of this stuff. So I'd say definitely look into it a lot deeper. And if there's any way we can retain local, have a local company right here that's worked with us, by all means, because, and like I said, definitely we need to see at least 2 or 3 or 4 other companies of this equivalent to compare prices. How do we know we're going to end up?
Councilor Allen?
Yeah, I guess I apologize. I guess I do have one more comment. I would ask you to kind of revisit this. I believe that the current companies and their partners do municipal sites. I can verify that, but I have a belief that they do have municipal experience, not just ours, but I think that they're, them and their partner.
There may be more, but again.
Yeah, so, it's really worth a conversation with them. And look, we're all trying to do good here, really, all of us are, right? So I think we're all, we like to recognize that we're really all trying to do the same thing. It's just, I believe we need to, explore this a little deeper.
I'll come back with
Councilor Vanucci?
every
Do
number.
you have something you want to say?
Yeah, I agree 100% with you guys already. I mean, I didn't know if I'd really say much more from what you guys are saying. I agree we should table this one because, once again, we should support local. First off, I did have a good conversation with Councilor Allen earlier, and, looking at the numbers now, it makes a little more sense, so I appreciate all the answers that you gave us.
Sure.
Seeing that we're going to be saving $5,000 annually, but we have to put up $17,000 initially, so after 3.5 years, we do get that money back. But are we getting the same service? So what I'd like to see, I guess, would be a comparison of, what we have currently, what we're going to get into, the price total. Obviously, we got the prices down, but kind of like what we're actually getting, what we're going to be getting on the new plan. And
Well, just so before, I'm can read the room. I assume I'll be back in a couple of weeks here. On page 5 of the document that you have, lists out all their support that they have dedicated to the site when it's available. And then above that, it also has a timeline for response to critical issues, crisis issues, critical issues, and normal issues. So on that last page, that SLA lists out all the service that you're probably trying to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I see the new plan, I'd like to see what we have as the current plan, I guess.
Sure.
Side by side, just to see.
Sure.
And, you know, like you guys were all saying as well, if we could potentially have the company that we have to do the same things that we have to also have the agendas included potentially, and give us, you know, a set quote on that. You know, we're paying $9,000 right now?
$66.15 a year for the agenda software that you guys use.
And then for the website, we're paying?
$9,000.
$9,000, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we could potentially get the website company to put all those things in an all-inclusive price, potentially if we can get a price from our current company to include all those, and we can compare that, that would be something worth asking, I think.
Anybody have anything else?
I'll make one last comment, and it's to commend you, Steve, for all the work that you're doing with this, and all the work you're about to do with it. We do appreciate it. Again, it's just one thing, you know, we're trying to be thorough with it.
Absolutely.
But really, all the work you've done recently and going into this, we definitely see your vision, and, you know, we want to support you with that. We just want to make sure we have all the boxes checked, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See you guys in a couple of weeks.
Anybody have anything else? Get a motion?
A motion to amend.
Motion to table.
To table, I'm sorry, to table. Yep.
Counselor Allen?
I'll second the motion to table.
Counselor Walton?
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes, to table.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes, to table.
Counselor Allen?
Yes to table.
Counselor Vernucci?
Yes, to table.
Counselor Walton?
Yes to table.
Does anybody have anything else tonight? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Counselor Allen, Counselor Burridge.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Counselor Vernucci?
Yes.
Counselor Walton?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.